Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're just going to be doing a little bit of a fun video since MiHoYo teased Shenhe on their Twitter yesterday that she's becoming in 2.4, and I thought it would be fun to kind of theory craft some potential teams for her. Now, I haven't looked at any leaks. I basically have no clue what she does besides she's a cryo polearm user, so we're going to be working under a couple assumptions here. We're going to assume that she is a main DPS first and foremost, as obviously the team building is significantly less interesting if she's just a support that goes in someone else's team. So let's just assume she's a main DPS. And we also are going to assume, for some teams, we're going to assume that she has the ability to give herself cryo, and on other teams, we're going to assume that she doesn't have the ability to give herself cryo. So let's just start off with the first kind of. We're going to be using Zhao as well to kind of indicate her, just because I don't want to have any units that I would possibly want for a team, like Rosaria maybe. So, first things first, I want to start with probably her most likely team, which is probably to be some variant of a freeze team. If I had to take a guess in my head, since she's a polearm user and she attacks pretty quickly, I would assume something like Jingcho, Kazuha, and possibly someone like Diona if she needs energy, something like this, kind of very close to the Ayaka, but kind of with the Jingchu instead of Mona, because I figure she's going to be attacking probably a lot more quickly, whereas Ayaka is kind of more burst loaded. Now, the reason you would want a team like this, obviously, is due to how busted the effect on the Blizzard Strayer pieces are. The essentially getting 40% crit rate for free if someone's frozen, plus 15% cryo damage. So, yeah, that's kind of why you assume a cryo team like this. Now, also, if she can't give herself cryo, there's a chance that you're just supposed to put in like Chongyun in this last spot here, and then just play with the Jingchu healing, which totally is doable. There definitely is teams that already kind of do this. You know, there's a team with like Kaya instead of Shenhe here that would do a very similar thing. So I kind of assume this is probably going to be one of her most likely comps. This also works if she's a physical damage dealer instead. Like if she's physical damage, this also works completely fine because this, essentially just gives her the cryo thing to give her 40% crit rate, which is pretty insane. Maybe you try to squeeze in an electro charge here somehow, maybe something like this. If you go for like a freeze physical build, but I kind of think the freeze physical is kind of a little weird thing, and that's gonna have to be specifically tested. So let's go with the second option I'm thinking of here, which is that she's you want to build her for melt. You want to melt with her. So I'm going to assume that she's going to have quick application. Being a spear user, I assume she's going to hit really quick, so she's going to be the one generally applying the cryo in this team. So I totally expect essentially just kind of a standard Zhangling Shell, Zhangling, Anemo, and Bennett. Here, I totally expect something like this with Shenhe to be the kind of go-to comp. If she ends up being like a melt-based carry, this Kazuha slot here is obviously flexible. Jean's fine. You could put in someone like Zhongli. You could put in Mona. If there's a specific big thing you can use the ult for. You put in someone like Sucrose as well for EM. But just something like this, I totally expect to be the kind of melt core for Shenhe. Now, let's go for a physical team, because I think, being a cryo main DPS, there's a pretty high chance, or at least a semi-chance, that she ends up being some sort of a physical carry, which would also be nice because one of the best weapons in the entire game is actually a free 4-star weapon that everybody has, the Crescent Pike. If you don't know why this weapon is so good, it's essentially because this effect here, it kind of isn't worded well. Essentially, it's an extra hit instead of just a bonus damage. Because it's an extra hit, it can crit, it skills off physical damage, and it triggers every attack. So if she hits quick enough, this is a lot of extra damage, outpacing even a lot of the 5 stars assuming some sort of physical build. So that would be quite cool if she's a physical damage dealer. So let's think what a physical shell would look for. So there's two kind of directions to take a physical shell. You either go for the freeze physical for the 40% crit rate, or you could go for a more traditional physical. So I already kind of showed off what the freeze one would look like. So let's look at like what a standard like physical setup would look like. I assume you would probably go for something like a double electro core here of Beto plus Fischl. This is because Beto's ult is absolutely insane, and if you do not use her or do not have a Beto build, I highly recommend it, especially at C2. She is ridiculous sub DPS damage, like ridiculous, almost jangling levels. She's an insanely good unit as long as you can battery her. Depending on how the rotations look, like there's a chance that you slot in Raiden here too, depending on whether like how greedy Shenhe is with her field time. If she has downtime, you can actually go for the Raiden swap and then just use Beto whenever you're hitting with Shenhe. So while these two don't work together, if you can use Beto while Shenhe is on the field and then use Raiden to fill downtime, that's actually a pretty good comp. And that's for the last slot here. You have a couple options. Obviously, probably a healer of some sort, or possibly, I think probably Zhongli would be fine here. Extra physical shred, because I'm assuming she'll be able to superconduct by herself. She won't need someone else. If she needs energy, of course, Diona is always an option, or Chi-Chi. But I fully expect you could also even possibly go Bennett if she doesn't need energy, because Bennett's Bennett. It just does a ton of damage, and you don't really have to worry about overloading and stuff like that if you're, just using Bennett as your only pyro. And in that kind of situation, you just make sure you try to melt with Bennett, maybe to get a big damage proc or something. So maybe something like this if she doesn't need energy, and if Shenhe needs energy in kind of this electrophysical core, you go for something more like, where is my Diona? You go something more like Diona for the cryo. So this is kind of just like my initial impressions and my initial thoughts. I know they're a little bit all over the place, but I'm just gonna run through them once again to kind of give you the semi-quick and dirty. So first things first, when we look at Melt, Zhangling, Anemo, Bennett. Bam. Perfect. Good. This is assuming that Shenhe applies Cryo Quick and is a Cryo, mainly Cryo-based main DPS that does not have a very large burst skill to take advantage of some kind of freeze uptime buff, similar to Morgana or Ayaka teams. The second shell we're thinking about is a freeze one with presumably Jingchu instead of Mona, because I kind of expect Shenhe to attack a lot quicker and therefore want Jingchu for the constant application. Possibly also this can be some sort of Cryo Team or freeze-based team that is also physical, maybe using someone like Chongyun if you need to infuse her with cryo, or if not, just using Diona as a battery here is fine. And then the third main shell we were thinking of is a physical, but a physical that isn't built around freeze, with something like a Raiden, Beto, Bennett kind of deal. Possibly Bennett also swaps for Diona. The healer slot is more or less going to be based on whether she needs more energy. If she needs more energy, Diona. If she doesn't, you have options for people like Bennett. And obviously Raiden in the physical comp can be subbed for Fischl to provide Beto enough energy. So yeah, this is just kind of, a quick thought experiment about what kind of teams I think she'll use. Obviously, if we, if the pipes in my house tell me, I have some plumbing issues and somehow the information of what she does reaches me, maybe I'll make another video kind of indicating which way I would be leaning. But I hope you enjoyed the video. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm about to be an African warlord. I'm sending out people to the Primo Gem mines to make sure I got enough for Shenhe. Um, but yeah, I hope you have a good day, and I wish you luck if you're pulling on any of the 2.3 banners.